Welcome to The Global Girlfriend.
Shall we book a flight to Bucharest, Romania?
Yep.
Alrighty, hey everyone, my name's Morgan,
And my name's Brianna.
and welcome to The Global Girlfriend, or welcome back. We're a podcast that's all about traveling, living abroad, and all the stories and ins and outs that go into that. Okay, today's episode is a real one, and it is letting go of the cool young travel girl in your 30s. This one is a topic that really resonates with both Brianna and I, as we are girlies in our 30s. And this episode, we're just going to be talking all about that and kind of just stories and what happens when you realize that you're not the 23-year-old travel girl going from hostel to hostel, and just what it looks like from that shift to now, and all our thoughts and stories that go into that. So maybe just to start this off, Brianna, do you have a story of kind of a moment where you kind of realized, wow, I don't think I'm a 23-year-old travel girl anymore?
There are so many, and I can't wait to expose them all throughout this episode. I wouldn't say there was like one specific moment where I realized I was no longer like a young, cool travel girl. I feel like it's sort of like been a gradual ease into the
Mm-hmm.
situation. And like for me, I think I really started to notice it when I started taking more taxis and Ubers than public transportation super early at night or super early in the morning or super late at night. I think I used to be like a diehard public transportation. It would take me at least 2 hours to get to any airport in the world because I only wanted to spend €3 to get there. And then definitely as I have slid into my 30s, I take Ubers a lot more. I treat myself a little bit more. I'm staying in not fancy places, but definitely like I'm not sleeping in a 16-bed mixed dorm hostel anymore. Uh, um, I would say it was like, yeah, it's just like those small subtle changes between not doing everything for free or as cheap as possible and really spending a little bit more money to treat myself a bit more. What about what about you? Do you have a moment where you were like, man, I'm different now?
Okay, well, I definitely resonate with all the things that you just said. You know, it's all those little moments that you realize, like, okay, things are changing. Um, I think for me, like, if I were to say, like, there was an aha moment on this topic, it was just like a day to day life when I was 29 living in Albania. And like, I was only just like a year into skincare at that point. And I'm 29, and it was just that, like, year as I knew I was approaching 30, I was living abroad, and I just was like, started to process in my head, like, oh my goodness, I don't have infinite youth. And so like I started just kind of like marinating on that topic, and then by the time I turned 30, I feel like I kind of accepted it a little bit more. We'll talk about how that even changes to now, but I feel like that was kind of like just like my internal reflections. And then like a literal story is kind of similar with the hostels, like um like like yours in public transportation. And like a couple of years ago, I had a couple trips in Paris, visiting friends, and I was in London at the time, and I kind of waited till last second to get my flights, and I was kind of like, oh, they're so expensive, like dang, like I can't pay that right now. And I was like, so you know what, oh, I'm just gonna, it's cheap and reasonable, I'm gonna take the bus from London to Paris and back. And I did it twice. And after the first time, I said I would never do it again, and then I did it again, and it just confirmed.
No.
I'm like, I am not at the place in my life where I'm taking overnight buses. And I'm like,
No.
I'll never do it again. And so I don't know, that's kind of my most, well, the story that comes to my mind at the moment.
No, I'm with you 100%. We are not doing overnight buses anymore. Sleeping in airports, no, it's not happening. Uh, but I guess sort of like before we talk about like how we've changed, I think for the purposes of this episode, like let's define like who is or who was the young, cool travel girl so that we can really think about like what the difference is, I guess. And so for me, the idea of like the young, cool travel girl, and I think you and I were we've been on social media at a huge time of transformation. I think you and I have seen like a huge sort of shift in the sort of social media trends in terms of travel over our last like 10 sort of years of travel. And I feel like 10
Mhm.
years ago, the travel girly was someone who was posting these like beautiful sepia toned photos all over the world, always in
I
the
know.
airports, like a new country every single week, posting, this is country 79 or whatever. Like it was a really big sort of like hustle, cute travel outfits, go, 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 and just like do as much as you can, be as social as you can, meet people from all over the world. And in a way, I think we still do that, but I think we've definitely slowed down a little bit. And I think the idea of like that young, cool travel girl is like, it's someone in their early 20s, just starting to travel, doing things on a budget with this huge zest for life, which is a beautiful thing. Um, and yeah, just someone who's like go, 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 go all of the time. And like travel is or was their entire sort of essence. It sort of like defined who they are as a person. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you're spot on, and like the visual I'm picturing is like me with my green backpacking backpack on, like just like some cute sundresses, repeating them, and just literally open to whatever and whoever like comes my way.
Exactly. Every Instagram story has a little shot out the airplane window of the wing of the plane like every 3 days. So yeah, so that's who the young cool travel girly is slash I mean was for us. And I think that was a really fun time. You know what I mean? And I feel like for anybody that's still in that phase of your life, like that's an amazing time. It's great to live out of a backpack. It's great to be on the move. It's great to save money.
Oh yeah.
It's you learn so much about yourself in that phase of life. You appreciate the nicer
Yeah.
things when you leave that phase of life. So I think there's like it's a beautiful thing to go through
Oh
that phase,
yeah.
and I think now sort of we're talking about what it's like to be on the other side. But I just want to like shout out to our younger selves and shout out to anybody who's in that like travel phase right now because it's really fun. It's
Oh, it's
hectic,
so
but
fun,
it's really fun.
and embrace it because like I mean even now I mean those memories are so nostalgic and like so fun. Like, friends that we've done trips with and stuff all through our 20s, like we're always cracking up of like, I mean, one of my best friends on our first trip backpacking Europe after college, like we always crack up about like sleeping on the floor of the Rome train station. Or the time the train got stuck and they gave us a bunch of free wine and we just sat in the middle of nowhere on a train for hours drinking wine. Like those are the stories that like I mean light up my soul. But also like
Right.
yeah. So yeah, no, we are for embracing that time of life. Absolutely.
And yeah, it
And
was
like,
it was so fun, but now we're sorry, go ahead.
oh no, 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 go, no, you go.
No, I was just going to say that also reminds me of the time I used to go to this music festival in Zanzibar every year from Nairobi, Kenya, which, like, to put that into perspective, one, so fun. But two, we would take a bus for like 14 hours to the capital city of Tanzania, Dar es Salaam. And then we would take the cheapest ferry, which is just like seasick the most seasick journey you can possibly imagine for like another 6 hours to Zanzibar. And then I remember one time we were coming back, we missed our boat, so we had to take an even sketchier boat to come back and like an even longer night bus all the way like back to Nairobi. And I'm like, I couldn't do that. I don't think I could do that anymore. That was fun. That was fun for a time, but definitely not anymore.
No,
What
now is the time. I was gonna say now is the time for a private jet. No, just kidding. I wish.
That's going to be in our 40s once the podcast really takes off.
Exactly. Oh goodness. Okay, what were you about to ask?
Oh, I was just gonna ask. Okay, so I mean, that was the wild young cool travel girls in our 20s. What for you has shifted as you've moved into your 30s?
Yeah. So, well, first off, I was gonna say as well, like, I don't necessarily internally feel like I'm like a super oldie now, but like, I
Not
still
at all.
feel
Me
like
either.
quite. I feel like you're the same. Like, so I still
Yeah.
feel like quite youthful, like within myself, and I think that's important to like I think that's important to keep on to.
100%.
But as far as kind of shifts, I would say something that I had noticed is that you've kind of mentioned it as well. Instead of like the go, 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 like the trips that I felt like were very impactful to me were ones that were a lot slower, very intentional. And so I'm like thinking of a trip I did to Corfu for 2 weeks. And it was just so great. It's like almost like living there for 2 weeks, and you get to just slowly even like create a routine while you're there. You get to kind of just like slowly embrace the culture. And I think I noticed a shift where those kind of trips are the ones that I'm really loving more. So you can kind of incorporate day to day life there, as well as seeing a new place and embracing a culture. You know.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I feel the same way. Like, I think honestly, in my heart of hearts, I feel 29, and I've felt 29 for the past 6 years. Uh, uh, and I hope to feel 29 forever.
It's a
But
good age.
I totally agree with you. I think that, yeah, I like a little bit more intentional travel. I like I mean, I don't know. I've never, like, traveled for the purpose of partying. However, I think in my 20s, I did party a lot more while I was traveling. Like, I've always been sort of an intentional traveler and that I want to, like, see culture and experience things. But I did
Hmm.
party a lot on those trips when I was younger. I think now I do that way less. Almost completely less. And I follow a bunch of, still some of these young cool traveler girls, and they're like on the Greek islands doing 29-hour parties straight, like every single night they're like out doing shots and stuff, and I'm like, wow, they're having so much fun, and I have no desire to ever do that again. um and so I would say that, like, yeah, definitely for me in my 30s, like, I have I sort of travel and I'm much more chill about the whole experience. I'm still doing things, filling the days with stuff, but just more interested in, like, art and culture and, like, enjoying
Hmm.
nice food and beverage and, like, that sort of stuff. And I find that very fulfilling right now. So I'm just really leaning into that.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. I'm right there with you. Um, Yeah, and I think just, sometimes, and I don't know if it's social pressure or kind of just the pressure I'm putting on myself within me, but sometimes I ask myself, like, am I still the cool travel girl if I'm not, going on every opportunity, chasing whatever like cheapest flight that I can get, you know what I mean? And you know, and I think that I also struggle with this question as well, especially, we've talked about the general shift into our 30s, but also like being in a season of my life where I've, moved home, and like my travel looks very different, and it is a lot more intentional. And so I think just kind of like I've been processing this question even more, like as I've shifted back in Texas, um, and just like coming to terms with like those pressures that I put on myself, and that I don't know, maybe society puts on me as well.
I know,
Yeah.
I hear you, and I think social media does play a huge part in that. When you see people in your same sort of life situation doing everything always all the time, you can be like, "Oh, should I be doing that?" Or, maybe you have a long weekend and you're like, "Should I take a 6-hour flight?" But actually it's much easier to just do a little weekend away or something like that. I
Hmm.
think that there's a lot of things that are hard about coming into your own person in your 30s, like, for sure, like, in so many ways. And so I think for me, it's just like really important to, travel. It's a huge part of your life. It's a huge part of my life. I'm always going to keep doing it. But I think it's just really sort of like letting go of, like, Instagram doesn't care if you go on a trip. You are still traveling all of the time. Like, you don't need to be on every cheap flight, on every party boat. Like, it's okay. You're still a traveler, even though you're not maybe hustling as much as you once did in your 20s, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I mean, as most things, I suppose it. A lot of this I feel like comes from within, like just kind of really embracing. I mean, there's seasons for everything, and so I think just really embracing the season we're in. I think, like with what I just shared as well. Um, Sometimes I feel like maybe I'm not as a part of, the travel community anymore. Because I'm not that, 20s living abroad with my backpack on a cheap Ryanair flight, doing whatever. And so I sometimes get scared, like, oh my gosh, like, am I not in that community anymore? And it's something that I feel like I identify with so much and like want to be a part of. But it's just been a learning process, I think, for myself of kind of how we said, like, in this time of my life, like my trips just look different. They're more intentional, they're slower. Um, yeah, I just get scared even as well that I might even like lose my just general travel girl identity, not just the young, cool travel girl identity. But anyways, it's been a process and something that I reflect on a lot.
No, and that's got to be so hard. And I think like what it's important to remember is like as much as we're like, oh, the travel community, I feel like as far as communities go, the travel community is actually one of the most disconnected communities because people who are travelers are all over the world all the time.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
yeah, that's true.
uh you meet someone one time and then you might not ever see them again, or it's 3 years until you see them. And I think that if anybody ever makes anyone feel like, oh, you're not a traveler or you're not part of the traveler community, I feel like they're not actually a genuine traveler, or they don't really have they don't have an understanding that it looks very different for everybody. I feel very similar being in Bali, because I spend a lot of time in this town called Canggu, which is like there's a lot of digital nomads there, and I would love to do a whole episode on that. But
Hmm.
anyway, I spend a lot of time there, and I think I've brought this up in our not working remotely episode. But I find
Oh yeah.
sometimes a lot of the digital nomads make me feel like less of a traveler or less of an international person because I have to go to my job 40 hours a week, that's in a
Oh
physical
yeah.
office, whereas they have the freedom to sort of come and go as they please. And like I feel like sometimes I am looked down upon because even though I'm living abroad, I am living in one place. And I feel like sometimes people from that sort of section of the travel community are like, well, I could never do that. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
Like, well, I'm doing it and I'm rocking at it. Okay.
So yeah, I think it's just really like I think like travel community is such a loose term, and I think as long as you're challenging yourself and putting yourself out of your comfort zone even once a year, like you're a traveler.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Um, yeah. And I think, I didn't even, you shared that before, and I didn't even think about those kind of external kind of judgments, because I think mine are mostly the judgments within myself. And so they
Aw.
come from, they sometimes come from out and they sometimes come from within. But hey,
They come from all angles, but it's yeah, just important to like stay strong in who you are, and like if you're a traveler at heart, like you know it.
yeah. Yeah. And it just, if you're a believer of seasons, like, that different seasons, they look different, So,
Totally. And I was thinking about this before we started recording this episode. I think like you and I have done so much traveling over the past 10, 12, 15 years, whatever, however long it's been. Like you and I have done so much traveling that I feel like you and I could both take 5 years, 10 years and not go on a single trip, and people in our lives would still be like, "Oh yeah, Morgan, the traveler, or Brianna, the traveler." You know what I mean? Like I feel like
oh yeah.
we put in all of that time away and that time and effort in our 20s, that I think, people who know us and people who are close to us, like people will define us by this probably for a very, very long time to come. So even though it might look differently now, I think definitely in the heart of people who like know us and care about us, like that is definitely one of the first
They,
three things people would use to describe us when talking to other people,
yeah.
I would assume.
Yeah, like travelers, adventurers. No, that's a really good point. We've really made an imprint. Um, a, a recent experience that I had though, I went to my who I love. I went to my childhood dentist recently. Like I,
Nice.
I never had I never had dental trauma, and then I went to the dentist out of the country, and then I was like, I got to go back to my childhood dentist. Anyways, but like he was like, "Oh, so you, oh, your mom said that you know, have traveled all over Europe." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." And he's like, "Oh, great, but you're back now and you're settling down, right?" And I was like, "Well," I said, "there's always adventure to be had." But so you know, something that I think about a lot is you know, I feel like I care a lot about really making sure that people know who I feel like I am and what's important to me in my identity, because I feel like a lot of people are associating me being back in Texas with that. I'm just kind of like over that phase, if that makes sense. But I
Yeah.
don't know if it looks different. Like, I'm in a phase where I'm in Texas, I'm engaged to my love, and
Yeah.
and travel looks different, but it's still like something that is just so important to me. And it
It's
feels
so
like part of who
important
I
to
am.
you. Yeah, and you're doing it all the time, and I think it's very easy for people to make assumptions about people based on what they see online or a small conversation. And I
Yeah.
think it's just really important to sort of like speak up and be like, no, actually, this is what I'm up to. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, no, I'm so glad you're doing that, and that you're just living your truth, who you are, which is traveling all over the world. Um, let's talk about reclaiming travel in your 30s. So we've just talked about, a lot about, oh, these are the young cool travel girls, travel looks different. But I think travel is for anyone. You know what I mean? Travel is
Oh,
not just
yeah.
for the young. Travel is for anyone. Two people that I am like super inspired by actually are my parents. So last year, my dad's in his late 60s and my mom's in her 70s. And last year they did like basically a 3-month trip all through Asia. They went to like a lot of different
That's
countries.
amazing.
They brought only a carry-on. They were in Europe, then they were in Dubai, and then they came to Asia, and I think they did like 3 or 4 countries in Asia. They were on the
Amazing.
road for 3 months. They did only a carry on, and they saw and experienced so many things. So, like, definitely travel is not over, and doing adventurous things is not over when you turn the age of 30. And I think you get to sort of curate any sort of experiences that you want. And so, for me in my 30s, I still feel super adventurous. I'm still booking hiking trips, surf trips,
Hmm.
ski trips. Um,
Yeah.
I do enjoy a massage from time to time. That's not something I ever treated myself to in my 20s. But for me, I'm just like really in a season of like still doing adventurous things, still working out, trying to stay strong in my off time so that I feel excited and like not limited on trips when I'm traveling. And I'm just like really enjoying still being an adventurous traveler, but just like doing things a little bit nicer. What does it sort of look like for you?
Yeah, I think another thing onto that is, I think it's great and more than okay to include your comforts on your trip. So bring, I always bring my skincare these days. I wouldn't do a trip without it. So bring your skincare. Or another comfort thing that I travel with a lot is my heating pad, because I'm like, okay, if
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be like in all these new beds, I might as well have something super cozy with me. So like, don't be afraid to like pack those little extra comforts that really make a difference. Um, so yeah, that's definitely something that I've incorporated even more now on all my trips in my 30s.
I love it. And I just want to share this story because I feel like anybody who is in their 30s will completely relate to this. This was actually, it was our friend Paloma. She and I have talked about this at great length because we've traveled together a lot. And I think we were in Greece maybe together, and we were just having a chat, and we were like, because we had gone back like maybe around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon to like just have a little rest before going out before dinner,
Oh, love,
and we were
that's it.
like,
That's
do
crucial.
you do you remember when we were in our early 20s and we would like wake up at 7 o'clock and then not come home until like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning? Like, you would go out, you would do an adventure, you would stay out for the whole day into the night and then come back. And like now we're definitely in a phase where it's like, yeah, we're going to wake up at 7, we're going to go do a full day of activities. There will be at least an hour or two of siesta phone time. Um back at the
Yes.
hotel, before going out again. But there was a time in our lives when we would just go out for the full day, which now I'm like, wow, that was reckless behavior.
Like, how did we do that? Oh my gosh, I love that story. A siesta is essential.
Is
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah. And like, I sometimes now, like to trickle in, like, well, like, so for as far as like planning accommodation, like, I want to have my own space. I go for like, like little boutique hotels or Airbnbs or like little guest house, whatever, just to have, that comfort of for a siesta, like have your own space. But like sometimes I like to trickle in to feel like I'm keeping myself young. Like I might do like one hostel night, but it's like a very limited amount of people and they're like all girls. So it's still like a little bit different,
Same.
but
I do
sometimes
the
I kind of like
same thing.
keep myself on my toes and see like, can I still hang? But
And honestly we can. And I will say, like, oftentimes if I have stayed, in a hostel in my 30s in those, 4-girl dorm rooms, the other people that are
those are
staying in that, women in their 30s. Uh
mm-hmm. No, absolutely. It's like we're like, interesting. How did you get
oh,
here?
how did you get? So yeah, there is definitely a space for us. I guess sort of like just to wrap things up, I guess sort of our main message is like, no one is less of a traveler because you're not go 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 at the same way that you were traveling when you're 20s in your 20s. I think that the way that people travel in their early 20s is a beautiful, wonderful, chaotic thing. And I think that the way that we're traveling now in our 30s is honestly still beautiful, wonderful, and often chaotic. But
Travel brings that. And
but just a little different.
yeah, and I think as long as, we stay silly, stay curious, it's okay that we're not staying in our 20s because the 30s are beautiful too.
The 30s are beautiful. We are loving traveling in our 30s. Morgan and I are going to continue to travel, hopefully deep into our 100s.
Yes.
And we are excited to take you on that journey with us. Morgan, if people want to share a little bit about how travel has shifted for them in their 30s, where can they find us on the internet?
Yes, we'd love to hear from you. You feel free to share on our social media, which is the Global Girlfriend on Instagram and TikTok. You can message us there or comment on any posts that we make about this. You could also find us at theglobalgirlfriend.com and send us a little email from there. We'd really love to connect and engage with you guys.
We would love to hear from you. Thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you have a fabulous week, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. See you guys. Bye.